inside of you.
Pay attention to the psychological aspects. You would have a competitive advantage over any opponent because you would have the mind of an athlete. He had it all, or so the world would have thought. He's one of the greatest athletes that ever walked the earth. Not many people are able to excel in both professional football and professional baseball. But that's exactly what Deion Sanders did. And he thrived. He had huge contracts with lots of money and incredible fame and notoriety. But as Deion Sanders talks about in his book, Power, Sex, and Money, How Success Almost Ruined My Life, he shares how it didn't fill him up. That one night, out of great despair, feeling very empty inside, he was out driving his sports car late at night, and he was actually pondering the thing that you would never expect someone in the sports world to be pondering. He was thinking about suicide. That maybe he would say, I would drive my car off a cliff. He wanted out. I mean, not out of this life like he wanted to die, but he wanted out of this feeling that he had inside. That the world thought he had it all, but he felt empty. And no amount of sex, drugs, food, violence, trophies, money, contracts, it wasn't filling him up. What was going on? Blaise Pascal, a philosopher, called it the God-shaped hole in your heart. That there's a part of your heart that no matter what you try to do, it can only be filled by God. And Deion Sanders said, I had nowhere else to turn in that moment, but I reached out for God. And that was the defining moment in his life. Because from there, God entered into his life as the promise of God is. That promise says, if you draw near to me, I'll draw near to you. In that moment, Deion Sanders' life changed. He changed dramatically as a person, as a father, as a husband, as an athlete. You see, Deion had been engaged in misguided tensions. That he was trying to break this tension that he felt inside of him in all these ways that maybe the world would say work for you as an athlete. But what we often see is that it doesn't. It only alleviates the feeling temporarily. And you wake up and you still feel empty or the same or even worse. I'm talking about misguided tensions here. It's one of the big 5 hurdles that I see with athletes again and again. And the reason why that occurs is the flooded preconscious mind. That when we look at the iceberg model of the mind and we look at the preconscious mind, the back burner, where we store all the stuff that we haven't quite addressed yet, and it gets flooded, it creates tension. Think of a soda can that you shake up. And when you shake it up, it gets very tense on the outside. That's like our bodies. We manifest our emotional stress in the physical symptoms. So your neck gets tight, or the stomach aches, or the back injury flares up. And so we have tension inside, and we've got to release that tension in healthier ways. Now, you know and I know a popular way for athletes in high school and college and beyond to alleviate it would be drinking. Go out and have a few drinks and cut loose. And they actually release that tension inside. You never know what you're really going to get from an individual when they become intoxicated. But there've got to be healthier ways to break that tension. You know, as an athlete, working out is a great way to do it. When you work out, what are you actually working out? You're working out the tension that's inside. You're working out the emotional stress. It's why when you leave the gym, you feel better. But sometimes that's not enough. So I ask you, and I ask athletes, what is your outlet? I mean, outside of your sport, what's your outlet? Because many athletes will say to me, Jarrod, I'm tired of everyone talking to me about my sport or my academics. All my parents talking about is my performance. I'll say to an athlete, how often, what percentage of the time do you talk to your mom or dad about performance-based stuff? School and your sport. And too often, it's up around the 90s, 90%. And I say, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something more. There's got to be another outlet for your stress. I mean, there's more to life than sports, right? But when you're so consumed in the sports world, sometimes all the messages around you just say that this is it. This is what it's all about. And it's not. What are your outlets? How do you let out the tension? What are your hobbies? Think about it. Think about it right now. And what are your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun? What do you talk to your parents about that have nothing to do about sports? Or what do you talk to your friends about? What do you like to do that has nothing to do with performance-based stuff? I know it may sound silly, but I like magic tricks, or comedians. I love to go see a comedian. And so there's ways to let out tension. But as an athlete, I encourage you to develop your outlets in positive ways. I know some of you are saying, Jarrod, I know, but I just don't have time for these outlets. And I'm trying, but it's not enough. What am I really encouraging with? There are healthier ways to let out the tension. Talking about our stuff is one of the very best ways you can do this. You got to talk about your stuff. You can't wake up in the morning, push all day long and not process the material. I'm encouraging you to create a little space in your day, each day, where you can think about it, or you can talk about it with somebody you love, or maybe connect with a counselor or sports psychologist or mentor where you can bare your heart. Or go one step further, 92% of Americans believe in God. Are you praying to Him? Are you having that conversation? Studies would say about 50% of Americans pray once a day. Where are you on the continuum? Because there's a great outlet, a great way to let out tension if you're letting God in or if you're letting another human being in. But if you're doing what we say in sports, suck it up, deal with it, don't whine, don't complain, don't talk about your stuff, then that's only going to get you so far. You've got to have more tools in your toolbox. Deion Sanders has gone further down the road of athletics than many of us could ever possibly imagine. Can't we take a page out of his playbook? Can't we learn from his path that we need to apply some things in our life too? That no amount of filling this up with all these other things that so many athletes get engaged in with the misguided tensions. Food, fame, sex, drugs, trophies, championships. All of that stuff doesn't fill that God-shaped hole. Doesn't release the tension. Talk about it. Pray about it. Write about it. Find the healthier outlets. And if you do this, you'll be amazed at what you can do and how much better you'll be able to do it. You'll be amazed at just how well developed your mind, the mind of the athlete, really is.